The Atlantic published a story on Tuesday claiming that Democratic House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is going to resign as Speaker in the not-so-distant future. Sometime in the not-so-distant future, probably after next year's midterm, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi will announce that she's stepping down, the report alleged. Her top deputies aspire to her job, but they're also in their early 80s, and most Democrats in and out of Congress are counting on them to step aside too. Of course, they all have stock responses denying that anyone is ever going anywhere. But the day is coming. This comes from a recent article from The Atlantic. The Democratic members of Congress won't talk about any of this publicly, as if Nancy Pelosi might suddenly appear and pull their hearts from their chests. Apparently, this was a joke. Pretty much every Democrat in Congress and beyond is confident that Representative Hakeem Jeffries of New York will be the next Speaker of the House if the Democrats manage to hold on to their majority next year. Rumors continue to spread. California Globe also tweeted that Nancy Pelosi is going to step down after Republican Ron Kind announced that he will resign in a red district. At California Globe is now hearing rumors that at Speaker Pelosi is strongly considering not running for re-election. No desire to serve in minorities. Sources say that this explains the push for infrastructure deal to be completed during what may be her 18th and final term. This tweet came from California Globe. I hope you guys are paying attention. This kind of speaks to a lot of maybe the motivations behind the urgency behind passing this infrastructure bill. But what are your thoughts on this one? Is it time for House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to step down? Is it time for other political leaders who have been in their roles for extended periods to move on and be replaced with younger lawmakers with a fresh perspective? Let me know your thoughts on this one in the comments down below. I wanted to share a joke with you guys that I thought was hilarious. A man asked his wife, "What would you do if I won the lottery?" She replied, "I take half and leave you." "Great," he said. "I won $12. Here's $6. Keep in touch." This one had me laughing the other day. I just thought I'd share this one with you guys, just to kind of lighten up your day. Comment down below if you guys had heard this one before. Also, feel free to share this one with a friend who could use a good laugh today. As districts attempt to bring back in-person instruction amid the spread of the highly contagious Delta variant, Clayton County Public Schools also said in a press release on Wednesday that students at Church Street Elementary School in Riverdale, located about 13 miles south of Atlanta, the move came a day after the school district announced a similar move for staff and students at Kemp Primary School in Hampton, roughly 30 miles south of Atlanta, saying that the school would operate in a virtual learning environment for the remainder of the week. Now, according to the website of Cobb County Schools, masks are optional for students and staff, though social distancing in classrooms and school buildings, when appropriate and feasible, is required. But let me know if you guys are seeing any of your schools or your businesses in your area reverting back from in-person to virtual settings. I'd love to hear from you guys. Let me know what's going on out there in your world. But it's official, guys. The $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill just passed the Senate this week. And here's some of the highlights from this whole thing.
The yeas are 69.
With the vice president presiding, the Senate overwhelmingly passed a landmark $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill, a major win for President Biden.
In this bill, we prove that we can still come together to do big things, important things.
The compromise package took months to craft and will fund traditional infrastructure projects like roads, bridges, airports, waterways, and further deployment of broadband service, winning over 19 Republicans.
This will be a monumental improvement in what I see every day in my state.
Portman, Sinema, and 8 other senators who are the core negotiators said in a joint statement, Congress has talked about truly modernizing our nation's infrastructure for as long as we can remember. The United States delivered so we can finally give the American people the safe, reliable, and modern infrastructure they deserve. The final vote was 69-30, with 19 Republicans joining all 50 Democrats in voting for the passage. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell was among the Republicans who voted yes. Vice President Kamala Harris presided over the final vote and said it was a very good day before entering the chamber. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer also couldn't contain himself and commented before the vote, "It's been a long and winding road, but we have persisted and we have arrived. There were many logs in our path, detours along the way, but the American people will now see the robust of funds into infrastructure in decades." President Biden also definitely sees this as a major win for bipartisanship and for infrastructure. He told reporters, "This bill shows that we can work together. I know a lot of people, some sitting in the audience here, didn't think that it could happen. The bipartisanship was a thing of the past, a relic of an earlier age. I never believed that, and I still don't." So from here, it's on to the House of Representatives for their vote, and then one final step at Biden's desk for his eagerly awaited signature. Now, we are hearing that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi kind of wants to pump the brakes on this one, More details on that one in a future video. But House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer already announced in a letter to lawmakers on Tuesday that the chamber would return to session on August 23rd to consider the budget resolution. Now, the letter did not specifically mention how long the session will be, but it did say that the chamber would remain in session until our business for the week is concluded. Now, what we're going to watch out for until then is whether or not House Speaker Nancy Pelosi will back down on her promise to stall the bipartisan bill until the $3.5 trillion Democrat-only stimulus package comes through, but it doesn't look like she's going to be backing down based on what we're seeing here. Now, progressives are not expected to make any kind of dramatic changes to the infrastructure bill, but they do insist that the Senate first pass a separate $3.5 trillion budget resolution that is focused on poverty, climate change, as well as they have also warned Pelosi and other Democrats that they definitely have the numbers to sink the vote if they do not get the bigger stimulus package alongside it. And for your stock market update, all the major indices of the stock market closed flat yesterday: the Dow Jones, the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ. Now, this was in spite of electric vehicle manufacturers Tesla and rival NIO headlining their earnings reports. The stock market was expected to rally on the news of a tame inflation report. In the White House, the Dow Jones and the S&P 500 hit fresh all-time highs this week, with steel, materials, industrial, financial, and some retail leading the way. Now, according to investors.com, amid tentative signs of a peak in new cases, Moderna, ticker symbol mRNA, and BioNTech sold off hard on highly valued software names generally. Now, guys, you guys know me by now. I just love investing in the stock market, and it's one of the easiest, most passive ways to generate income and build wealth. Now, let's just say you invested a $1,200 stimulus check into biotech company Moderna on January 1st of this year. 8 months later, your $1,200 investment would have been worth $5,232 by the second week of August. That is a $4,032 profit in just 8 months from doing nothing. What would you do with an extra $4,000 in your bank account? Comment down below. I would love to hear from you guys. Senators Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders have a lot to say about the $3.5 trillion budget plan and the wealth taxes that they're pushing. The two senators, together with co-signer Sheldon Whitehouse, call for the Democrats' sweeping $3.5 trillion budget plan to include money to help the Internal Revenue Service beef up its tax enforcement. In a letter to IRS Commissioner Charles Rettig, the senators called on the IRS to demonstrate how enforcement could help generate billions of dollars to the federal government in owed taxes. They specifically wrote that revitalizing the IRS budget would allow it to go after wealthy tax cheats and provide faster and better service to the majority of Americans who are paying their fair share. Now, according to them, for too long, the wealthiest Americans have been able to use a raft of accountants, tax strategists, financial advisors, lawyers, and lobbyists to avoid paying their fair share in taxes. The top 1% of Americans fail to report more than a fifth of their income on their tax return.